We, as human beings, easily get caught up in our daily lives, lives that move with an ever-quickening pace in movement, communication, and technology. We can be unaware that life is in fact all around us.
All right. So what are the plans for this weekend?
When we travel from one place to another, our need to get somewhere quickly often takes precedence over taking in the environment. We might never stop and see a wildflower, observe the turn of a bird, or watch the crops waving in a field. At home, we might have a little bit of nature to call our own. Even then, we can still see only a part of what's really there. For instance, many of us are unaware that there are other creatures right beneath our feet that spend most of their lives far from our sight. One such creature came back to visit us in May of 2004, an insect known as the periodical cicada, the cicadas of Brood 10. Their story is one of a unique life cycle on a 17-year clock. It's the story of how, in a few months' time, they were a natural force of sight and sound that was hard to ignore, and a story of how studying these insects may help us to learn more about nature and its mechanisms. This is the Cicada Earth.
Special thanks goes to the Board of Managers of the Neil Marshall Alumni Club for commissioning this project, and in particular, its National Director, Clarence Boone, Jr., for his vision and leadership in making it become a reality. The story of the Neil Marshall Alumni Club begins in 1977. A number of alums were at the funeral of one of their own. Saddened that the only time they got together was at funerals, alum George Teleferro wanted to change that. He had a dream for himself and his friends.
A way of getting hold to all of the Black alumni around the country to make certain that I kept them in my thoughts, in my prayers, and that I could have my family to know something of the people and the quality of these people with whom I attended Indiana University.
One of the students at the Big Horn Canyon Field School, Patrick Hill, a Native American of the Crow Nation, had an even closer connection to the site than the visitors to Spring Mill.
My perspective, I think, is more in a direct line because these are my people that camped here. Not that long ago in so much as time. My people were on horseback in buckskin just a little over 160 years ago. So it's only 3 generations ago that these areas were used by the Crow. My feelings about being here personally and then realizing that I have a direct connection with this site in so much as it being predominantly or more than likely that of a Crow site, and having had relatives who camped here, who who live and existed here. It's very I would say emotional. It's difficult to interpret. in so much it's difficult for, I think, anyone to describe that of their heart. But I think in asking and then hopefully having the involvement of those of the Indian here, it greatly enhances and it greatly benefits all involved. In the short, long, and middle terms, we all benefit from it.
When the painting finally began, the pace was manic, with 2,760 square feet of mural to be completed. He never stopped to revise, believing that last-minute changes were invariably a mistake. He later wrote, "After I've gone through with my practical preparations, which are elaborate and occupy the major part of the time spent on any job, a certain kind of thoughtless freedom comes over me. Once on the wall, I paint with downright sensual pleasure. I run easily into childish egomania or adolescent emotionalism." After their completion, a 20-foot slot had to be cut into the side of the Germania Hall to get the mural panels on a specially built truck for the trip to Chicago. 39 million people attended the fair in 1933. When the fair opened, the Indiana Hall was the only one completed of all the states with pavilions. As visitors entered the Indiana Hall, they were met with murals formally described as a social history of Indiana. Two parallel timelines of progress were on either wall. Industrial progress ran along one side and cultural progress on the other. Each timeline started with the early Native American cultures meeting at the Civil War in the center. They ended with the present day of the 1930s,